Hello, everybody. I'm Robin, and these are my reflections. And today we're going to take a look at a side by side walkthrough and review of the Urban Incantations Tarot and the Afterlight Tarot by Leonard Jim Narciso. They are both produced by Paralumen Studios, I believe is the name of their production company. These are two independent decks that I backed on Kickstarter, and this one arrived this year, and this one came last year. I wanted to show them together here because I just got an email from Paralumen Studios that the website where you can pick these up is now live and active, and you can actually get the decks now. So I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and do that walkthrough that I've been planning forever. This deck has been here for a minute, y'all. It was stacked up in the stack of decks and books that I had for the summer that have been accumulating because my summer's been a little crazy. But yes, let's take a look at these side by side. So, if you're interested in knowing my thoughts, what I'm going to do, because what I do in these decisions videos is I go through both decks and I take a look at the similarities and the differences between the decks. I have a hard time making decisions, so I put these out there as a resource for anybody who's like me and might need a little bit of, a little bit more information. So what we'll do is we'll go through everything, the production, the cards, we'll do a side-by-side walkthrough, and I'll tell you my thoughts and how I've been using them and what I feel about them. So that maybe that'll help as well. I don't know. Some people don't care, but you can just watch the walkthrough and be out. So let me just read the backs. So this one is the Urban Incantations Tarot. It says, explore the tarot through a magical urban lens with Leonard Jim Marquise Narciso's latest tarot offering. Urban Incantation Tarot features visual incantations, art which evokes and reflects on the tarot's timeless archetypes. It is an engaging journey into a fantasy urban world where mostly modern settings are infused with magical light and darkness, resulting in an attractive yet very much approachable art. This one, the tarot's timeless archetypes have once again been reimagined by Leonard Jim M. Narciso's latest tarot offering, the Afterlight Tarot. This deck features an artistic style inspired by the Impressionist and Expressionist art movements. They both do, by the way. And while the theme and the scenes of the dark gravitate towards magic realism and surrealism, resulting in imagery like snatches of daydreams and visions, and raw and brush heavy strokes, with everything coming together in a riot of color and hue. All right, so I think those are really good explanations of the decks. To be honest, he's done a good job explaining them. I would say that is the biggest difference between them. They both use his same style. So he has this filter that he's created that he puts over top of these decks. He's put over top of both of these decks. He doesn't do it for all of his decks. I don't know if you know him, but he has made a lot of tarot decks over the years, and all of them look a little bit different, if you ask me. There's a couple that are available, um, that have been available mass market. So the Maria Celia, which actually was an indie. I wish I could get the full size of that one when it was indie, and the what is it called? The Vanessa Tarot, which is one I have. It's like a little pop culture cartoony deck. And then you have these two, which are some of his indie versions. He's got lots of indie decks, lots of decks. He's made lots of decks. So when somebody makes that many tarot decks, I'm always interested to see what they've got up their sleeve next. And so and I find that the easiest way to get his decks is to back his Kickstarters, because afterwards it becomes a little bit more difficult. So I keep an eye out for his Kickstarters, but these are available now on a website. So I'm going to post that website in the description box below. So let's take a look. So they both come with title cards. This one came with a signature card in 2023. I'm not sure if the new printing will or not. And these are the backs. So the Urban Incantation is like a cityscape. This one is more, this is floral. And I think that's because it's meant to be like that surrealistic, magical realism. It's going to be more of a natural landscape for that sort of that style, right? So those are the backs. They're both reversible backs. Both of these are on a plasticky kind of bouncy linen cardstock. I would say that this is probably like a printer studio style cardstock. So I don't know where he printed these, but that's what it feels like to me, like a print on demand kind of plain cardstock. The guidebook and the box for the Urban Incantations are both glossy, and the guidebook and the box for the Afterlight are both matte. So the books, the way that he does these is he likes to be able to get one, he writes a lot and he likes to be able to get all of it on one page. So as you're going through the book, you're going to find that the font jumps around. So like for anything that he wrote more on, the font will be a little bit bigger. And if he wrote less, the font will be a little bit smaller. Like for instance, you can see here the font is a little bit bigger than here. You can even see them side by side there like that. That they're different. That's just to be able to fill up the page. But I will say that some of them are easier to read and some of them are not. If you wear glasses, you're probably going to need to get those out to see this because it's fairly small. But he does excellent write-ups for the cards. He talks about what's in the artwork a little bit, which is helpful, especially for this one because some of it is a little bit difficult to make out what you're looking at because the filter is so thick. You'll see when we get there. Um, and then he talks about like in the reading what it means, the energy of the card and that kind of stuff. So it's a really good write-up, especially if you just want to know what he was thinking when he made the card. And then there's always an introduction as to what brought him to making this deck and why. And in the back, he has acknowledgments, and that's it. And there's a happy squirrel card with both. It's the same in this book. There's nothing different in the layout of the book. I didn't look to see if the acknowledgments were different. I didn't even check. But yeah, there is a little bit of a table of contents in the beginning. It's the same in the other book. The books are laid out exactly the same. So here are our backs, and I think you can even see in the backs that impressionist filter, he's adjusted it for this new deck. This is the Afterlight, the newer one over here. The dots are larger, the painting is more blended. You can definitely see the impressionist style in this one so much more than in this one. So if that's something that you're looking for, this one definitely has a heavier impressionist filter over the cards. They're both collage art decks with a filter that he's created to and here you can see the stars and dots that he's created. And there's so much less of it in this one. I'm just going to sit these here so we know which decks we're looking at as we're going through. All right, so we're going to start with our Fools. And even just from the first card, you can clearly see that there's a magical element to the Afterlight Tarot that is just not there in the Urban Incantations Tarot. The Urban Incantations Tarot feels so much more grounded, and it feels urban. It feels urban, and the Afterlight Tarot feels like a dreamscape or like a magical place. It feels like you're in dreams, or in your imagination. That surrealistic, magical realism element definitely brings this one out of reality. It definitely does. There are people, figures, and things like that, but you can't see them as well as in this one. Like even if you're looking at this, we have two hierophants here. There's something very realistic about this hierophant. I mean, he's even wearing sunglasses, and this just feels very dream-like, almost like they're not even there. Like they're just an impression of something. Very impressionistic. There's our lovers. These definitely echo each other a lot more. It's almost like you're zoomed in on one, right? Very different chariots. So the chess pieces echo each other, but we have a Don here with a grill, and he's in a chair. And then over here, an angel on a motorcycle. So it's very, very different interpretation of the chariot. Here's our strength. Those are closer. Hermit. And then this one, it seems like this one is leans more magical, doesn't it? Not in the artwork, but in the choice there. The representation. Wheel of Fortune and Justice. They aren't numbered, so if you want to switch Justice and Strength, you absolutely can. I put Strength at 8 and Justice at 11 because that's what I'm used to. Death. The Afterlight Tarot does have a title bar at the bottom, which makes the titles much easier to see, and also the font is clearer. This is more like a script. It's almost like a handwriting, and it's written right on the card. There's no bar there. There's a bar, but it's translucent, and this one is like you can see that when they are laid out, you see that black going across the bottom um, of your reading, and these titles are very clear. where these titles are clear as well, but they're not as crystal clear as these. I love the cats on the tree branch and this moon. Here's our sun, the children eating their ice cream. Judgment, guy in the hat, and the world. This world card is definitely something we've seen before. I definitely prefer the world card over here. They both have happy squirrel cards. The squirrel is on a scaffolding in the city, and this one is in a tree. The tree in the country. But they're both happy squirrel cards. All right. I was thinking about doing a side by side of these where I go, oh, I like this card better, that card better, just to see which one I like more cards in. But that's not what these videos are about. I really try to keep it as neutral as possible. I do give my opinion at the end, but I try to keep it just very neutral. So, Five of Wands. Here we have something very realistic, right? It's a soccer game. It's very grounded in that energy. And this one it feels like basketball, but it's almost hard to even tell. It's like, is this basketball or is this like a dream of a basketball game? The Six of Wands. I think I already mentioned that the treatment on the Afterlight Tarot is much thicker and it becomes so much harder to make out what you're seeing. And I think it's on purpose because it's supposed to be kind of dreamlike and magical. But in my opinion, I think it's a little heavy handed. For someone like me who wears glasses and has a hard time seeing contrasts and colors anyway, this becomes very difficult for me to see. And when I bought the Urban Incantations Tarot, I thought I was going to have a hard time seeing this one, but I don't. I can see this very clearly. I know exactly what I'm looking at, but I cannot say the same about this one. There were quite a few cards that I had to look in the guidebook to see what it is I was supposed to be seeing in the card, where I didn't have, I love this flamenco dancer, this Queen of Wands, where I didn't have that issue so much with this one. I pretty much knew exactly what I knew what I could see, and then the guidebook just helped me to look at maybe a few more things that I wasn't able to see. But in a few of these, I didn't even know what I was looking at, just colors and shapes, and I had to look in the guidebook to see what I was even supposed to be making of it. Another thing to note is that this deck doesn't have as many facial features as this one. This one can be very like, look at this Four of Cups. Look at her face. She's yawning. You know, she needs the coffee. You see these facial features. You see this emotion in the faces and in the body structures. And because of the fact that this is so loose and the with the painting being so loose, or the treatment being so thick on here, it's harder to tell their facial features. Like, I can see his body posture for sure, but there's definitely a lot more silhouettes on this one, shapes rather than actual um, like faces, facial features, and things like that. I will also say the colors on the Afterlight Tarot are much brighter and more vibrant. The colors on the Urban Incantations Tarot do tend to be a little more dull. I would say that for me, the reason that I picked up the Afterlight Tarot in the first place was because I was thinking I could use this one for fall and winter, the darker half of the year, and I could use this one for the lighter half of the year. And I don't think that I was wrong in that. I do believe that this one is definitely going to be one I'm going to want to reach for in the spring and fall, and this one more in the winter. And I'm sorry, this one in the spring and summer, and this one more in the winter and fall, because of the colors and also because of the natural element of the Afterlight Tarot. I do tend to like um, more natural decks in the spring and summer. And this urban, kind of colder, more concrete look, I do prefer for the winter and fall. This was one that I had to kind of really stare at to see what I was supposed to be looking at. I saw this pawn, but this one was harder for me to see. I could see half a face, but I was like, is he wearing glasses? Like, what's happening? You know? So, like, definitely had to look harder at that one. The Matrix. So here we have a man with a firearm, so just be aware of that if that's not something that you like. These are very similar, aren't they? This one almost looks like their hands up against a sheet. Definitely different. So after you've seen this side by side, you'll have to let me know in the comments below what you're thinking about the differences in them. I think for me, when I'm reading with this one, I can, like I said, because I can see the facial expressions so much more, I'm using those in the readings. With this one, I tend to lean more into the color energy of the deck. And I want to use it with other color decks. Like I've been using it quite a bit with my energetics of color. Um, and I just got the Color Mage Oracle, so I'm thinking about putting this with that as well. I'm not sure how much the artist intended that, but that's what I've been using it for. I think you can, of course, use it just as a regular deck if you like. Stuff like Margaret. Not to compare this to these decks, but there are other decks out there that you might have a harder time making out the images. Like I'm thinking Margaret Peterson or something you have to stare at a little harder to be able to tell, but it still makes sense. What is the other one? I forget the name of it, but I don't have either one of those. But I like them both. I've seen them and I like them both. I feel like the Afterlight Tarot might lean into that sort of reading style. I'm not sure because I don't have those decks, so I can't be certain. But I think that the cardstock on them is exactly the same. I haven't had anything make me feel like they're not. So, and the last one, the King of Pentacles. We'll give him a shuffle and we'll read from both guidebooks. So these are general tarot size. Here's a normal like Hay House style. This is actually a rock pull oracle deck, but they're about the same size. You can see they're a little bit more narrow and shorter than an oracle card, and up against like a tarot card. They're the same size. These are normal tarot size. Both decks are. They shuffle great. This is like that, it's like a playing card linen. So no problem shuffling them. It can get a little slippy if you're an overhand shuffler. You make sure you hold on. You don't want them to go flying. Oh, we got a card. So we have the Nine of Pentacles. If you want to read for the 8 and 9 of Pentacles, let me get my thumbs out of the way. You can take a screenshot of that. Okay. Okay, so it says the Tarot's Nine of Pentacle card relates to themes of material success. You are in a relatively financially well off position and financially independent too. A position in life where your hard work has paid off and you're now enjoying the fruits of your labor, oftentimes in a relatively opulent state. Enjoying the good and finer things in life without worrying about making ends meet on a daily basis. There's a strong sense of material security with the card, and your mind is free to focus on other things which you find will lead to enjoyment and contentment. The RWS deck depicts this card as a well and richly dressed woman basking in the comfort of her wonderful garden, which she built with the wealth she has accumulated throughout her life's work, with a hooded falcon on one hand, relating to the games those in higher society play. For this deck, I chose to depict the cards similar to the RWS version, with a finely dressed lady sipping cocktails on a veranda in her garden, co- contently basking in the comfort of the lifestyle she has achieved for herself. I added a bit of a twist by placing her in a veranda instead of outside, perhaps a warning not to focus too much on the material rewards and instead find great joy in knowing you have achieved these rewards for yourself throughout your hard work. In readings, this card relates to contentment, especially in a material world. It relates to a time when one has finished laying down the framework for one's financial future and has now began reaping its rewards. For example, having a financially stable and secure life. It at times relates to middle age and retirement, when after years of labor, one can now rest and begin to enjoy having a good and prosperous life. Other themes for the card are luxury and sophistication, the material world elevated to style and refinement. It is a card of abundance and wealth, though it could also mean being too tied to the trappings of wealth and forgetting one's humble beginnings. So, as you can see, there's quite a bit there. So, let's try the other book. Oh, we got a card. So, we have the Knight of Swords, actually, and the Page of Swords. Ooh, I kind of want to read for the. See, this is one that where I can barely see what's happening. I think it's a guy studying and a falcon. This one I can see the double helix and the girl. I don't know. I kind of want to read for the Page of Swords because I love the Page of Swords, but also let's see what's happening in this Knight of Swords. So let's read for the Knight of Swords. Okay, so if you'd like to read that for yourself, you can take a screenshot. Knight of Swords. The court cards tend to relate to aspects of human personality over the course of their lives. The pages relate to the inquisitive and sense of discovery in childhood, while the knights, the movement and energy and daring of being young adults, with the kings and queens relate to different aspects of adulthood. The suit of swords relates to concepts like thought and the mind, the intellect, as well as things relating to logic and reason. The Knight of Swords is an interesting combination between suit and court card because while the knights relate more to action and movement, the suit of swords relate more to thought, which some might think would be the opposite of the former. This is hardly the case, as the Knight of Swords relates to a very strong and keen intellectual drive to forge ahead and respond to challenges, especially since it is reinforced by the symbolic vitality of youth, as the knights have just come into it as the knights have I'm sorry, as the knights have just come into adulthood vibe. I'm sorry, it's very small and hard for me to see, so I'm having trouble. For this deck, I thought a writer would be a great way to interpret the Knight of Swords into a more modern setting. It relates to a strong intellectual and contemplative drive, but also bent on getting things done, having something written down, spoken out to the world. Perched on his side as a cheeky nod to literature is a raven referencing Edgar Allan Poe. And it says, in readings, this card relates to single mindedness and determination, like an incisive mind that prods a problem and won't give up until it has found a solution, or a knight that forges forward until he reaches his goal. With the latter, there's a strong sense of focus in this card, like how the blinders of a knight's horse help keep it looking forward, eyes on the road, so to speak. In this light, it could indicate narrow-mindedness and a lack of sympathy and understanding for things not related to one's interest or preoccupation. Also, a single-minded drive along with all of its advantages and disadvantages. All right, and so that's the Knight of Swords. But I'm just curious to see how similar the entries might be. So let's just take a look at the Knight of Swords next to the Knight of Swords and see what we get. Just hold them there if you want to take a screenshot and look for yourself later. But I was just wondering if this intro might have been the same. Yeah, so it looks like the intro of this where it talks about the knights versus the pages of the kings and the suit of swords versus blah 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 blah. It looks like it's similar. But then the part where it says for this deck, they definitely have something different there. So the first part of this is the same in both books. This part for this deck is different, and in the readings is the same. So there's that. Let's see if that's the same for the Queen. I'm wondering if that's the same for the other one we looked at. What was it? So here's the Nine of Pentacles in both books. This one is the Afterlight on the right here. If you want to take a look, and it does look like they are the same from the first part where it describes like um, what the card means and what happens in the RWS deck. It's the same. Just the for the deck section is different, and then the for reading section is the same. So it looks like the books are the same. Wait, this one goes with this deck, and this one with this one. So it looks like the books are the same except for the for this deck section. So the only thing that's different is the part where he talks about the artwork. Everything else is the same in the book, so that's good to know. So that's all I have for you today. I hope it was helpful. I enjoy making these videos. I think it's because I feel like it's so difficult for me to make decisions, obviously, because I end up with both decks. But I feel like if I have both of them, then, I like to try to put these um, resources out there for people that like me and like, I don't know which one to get. So I can give you the deets, the deets. So that is the Urban Incantations laid out. My personal thoughts, I like the Urban Incantations better. And I think that's just because it's easier for me to see. I think I mentioned already that I have some issues with my eyesight. So I already struggle to see cards anyway. So to have something where there's something else on top of it that's making it hard for me to see, this filter is just a little too heavy handed for me. I do prefer the colors in this one to the other one because it's so much more colorful and vibrant. But I feel like I'm struggling to find the emotion in the cards in this one because it's mostly silhouette and I can't see the people's faces that much. I find so much more drama in the other deck and I enjoy that about it. So, and also, I don't have a lot of decks set in the city. So I feel like I lean towards that one a lot for that sort of energy when I'm looking for it. I use that deck quite a bit. And this one I haven't picked up so much since I got it. But I just got it. It only came in from Kickstarter a few months ago. So we'll see how it goes. But you'll have to let me know in the comments below what you think. I'd love to hear what you think about these two decks now that you've seen them both. Or if you have them both at home, what you're doing with them, how you're feeling about them. Let me know in the comments below. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, please subscribe. I release videos every few days regarding tarot and oracle, and I would love to have you. There will be links in the description box below where you can pick up one or both of these decks if you so choose, along with other information. So take a look down there if you have time. And until I see you next time, stay safe and be blessed. Bye bye.